Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Mm-mm-mm. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, Erica Batson and Erica Dodson. How are you? How are you? How are you? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone. Good morning. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Loud, loud, loud. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hey, Quelly Quell. Hey, Portia. Hey, Tierney. How's everyone doing? I have shared this already myself, and I'm sharing it also on to the Pink Robe Chronicles page. Good morning. Greetings, y'all. Hey, everyone. It is so good to see each of you. I want to try something. It may look funny on your screen. I just want to see what it is. See if it allows your comments to come up live. I think that's if someone comment below. Just give me 1 second to see what this screen is doing, if it'll allow your comments to be right beside me, and it doesn't look like it will. All right, Ashe, we'll come back to see what that screen is all about. Okay, listen, y'all, I'm so excited. I'm so excited this morning. Have we not had a marvelous time this morning? Uh-oh, I have touched something, y'all. Hold on. Wait a minute. Okay, there we go. Have we not had a marvelous time over the past 5 weeks? I am Reverend Dr. Melva L. Sampson, the creator and curator of this Pink Robe Chronicles spiritual gathering community, and I'm so glad to be with you all. This Pink Robe Chronicles community has been it's been a lifesaver. For the past 5 weeks, friends, the past 5 weeks, we have been engaging in some very powerful work. Powerful work. We have been delving into Dividing the Self by Velma Love. And I'm happy to report that I see that Dr. Velma Love is on Pink Robe Chronicles this morning. She is here. She is here. So come on, Pink Robe Chronicles, and show her some love. I see her name right here. Come on and throw up some hearts, throw up some love symbols, shout her out, and to just let her know how much. Uh-oh, now it says my phone is about to die. Hold on, y'all. Oh, okay. And let's just show her some love as how much we appreciate the work, the labor that she has undergone to provide the community with this text. Hold on, y'all. I'm just trying to charge up my phone here. Lord, and I got it. Hold on. All right. Hey, Ashe, here we go. All right. We're here. Listen. Technologically, today it's interesting. I know Mercury is in retrograde. Ashe. So I see that the people are showing love this morning. Continue to shower Dr. Velma with your love. She so graciously joined us on this, our last installment of Dividing the Self, in the comments, and she's in the comments with us. And so if you have comments or questions as we go throughout, comments really, if for any questions, you should go to her website, Ashe. And I strongly, strongly encourage you. I strongly encourage you to, hi Janet Armstrong, Rugsy's friend. How you doing? I strongly encourage you to book an exploratory call with Dr. Velma on her website. And after your exploratory call, to go ahead and book a session. Like I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to do that. Velma Love, Love, Ashe. Thank you. Thank you, Natasha. She has placed Dr. Velma's information right here in the comments, www.drvelmalove.com. So for those of you for whom this is your first time joining Pink Robe Chronicles, and particularly this is your first installment of this the fifth installment of this series on Dr. Love's book, I encourage you to do two things. One, to go back and to view all of the previous Pink Robe Chronicles for the past 5 weeks. You can find them on the Pink Robe Chronicles Facebook page. They are all there, all saved to it, descending in order. So this is currently streaming live through the Pink Robe Chronicles Facebook page as well. And I just invite you to go back to catch up, so that you will be with us. I also want to just sort of shout out as we're going. If you experience anything quirky on this morning, just bear with me. The computer wouldn't turn on. I'm seeing quirky things going on with this production platform, but I'm going to keep it moving. Ashe, I'm going to move in right on in the spirit. So listen, y'all. I have loving with Dr. Love. Okay, Ashe. Good morning to all of you whose names I did not get to see. Usually I love to speak your names because I acknowledge and know that your names, they indeed emit energy. And so I greet you in the name of all that is good, in the name of life, in the name of love. I greet you. Ashe. Oh, as usual, I invite you to share this live right now, to go ahead and click like and share. Yes, Alafia, Kendra, Natasha, and Glency, Clara and Carolyn and Carla, Yolanda, Candace, and Janet, Tisa, Carolyn, Portia. Good morning, Charlene. Good morning, Dana and Mia. Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Rhonda, Antoinette, Quell. Good morning, Jamie and Yolanda, Mel, Chris, Erica, and Erica. Good morning to each one of you. Good morning. It is again very good to see each of you. I invite those of you whose names that I've called to share. Ashe, share this good news. Divining the self, y'all. This has been water, like water to a very, very parched soul. Water to a very parched soul. I don't know about you. Thank you, Dr. Velma. So grateful to Reverend Dr. Melvin and his community for breathing new life into my work. We are so grateful to you, Ashe. We are so grateful to you. So you all will recall, as we round up this work, you all will recall 5 weeks ago when I jumped on and I was thirsty, if you will, very, very thirsty. My soul needed quenching in a way that it was not being quenched. I know, as we say in the Christian tradition, that Jesus, the Savior, will provide for us water that will quench our thirst, that we will never thirst again from. Yet, hey Jojo, good morning. Yet, y'all, I was thirsty. There was something that my soul was reaching for. Good morning, Dr. Tony. There was something that my soul was reaching for, something that was calling out to me, something that had to come forth or was desiring to come forth, or at least at that moment was not being met by the constructions, the very human constructions, I say, the very human constructions of the white male constructed God, even though I acknowledge and know and am clear that God is not a person, but God is a spirit, Ashe. And those who worship God must worship God in spirit and in truth, says the Christian text. Yet I am very clear that the ways in which God is talked about and or discussed is through what is called this sort of how we anthropomorphize God. What does that mean? How we give these human characteristics to God. But the problem sometimes with that is that often because of systems of patriarchy where male privilege rules, often because of systems of misogyny war, that distinct hatred toward Black women, and often as a result of white supremacy, and the list goes on, homophobia, heterosexism, shall I continue, often because of these as what Patricia Hill Collins identifies as these interlocking systems of oppression, God becomes identified as male, as father, and these ideas of headship. And so God, who bears a son Jesus, who becomes the savior of the world, then saving of humanity, comes through this sort of male privilege. And at the moment, at the 5 weeks ago, it was not what I needed. Ashe, I just want to, if I can just bear my truth here for a moment, it was not what I needed. It was not what was speaking to my soul at the time. It was not where I was drawing life from. And I have been set free, Ashe and amen, from the need to one, remain silent about what my spiritual needs are, Ashe, to suggest that I am not a supple being, a fluid being who has the ability, as we all do, to move in and out, a being that is both eclectic, that is also a portal, and did not want to silence, if you will, what was trying to come through. Ashe. Dr. Velma is here with us, y'all. I'm so excited. And I'm just looking forward to how she's going to get all this love from these comments. So y'all keep commenting. Dr. Velma Love, the author of Divining the Self, is in the comments right now. And so just share with her what you have gotten from this series. And again, thank you to our DigiDeacon, Natasha Robinson Esquire, who has posted Dr. Velma's website up here for us, www.drvelmalove.com. I want to encourage you to go ahead and to go ahead and schedule an exploratory call with her. It's a complimentary exploratory call, and then move forward and go ahead and book you a session with Dr. Velma Love. At any rate, friends, I was already familiar. I've been familiar with Dr. Love's book for some time, and am familiar with and would consider Dr. Velma a wise guide, a friend in my own personal circle. And so I went and picked up the book because it called me, Ashe. It called me. And the chapter that we started on, for those of you who are just coming in, was chapter 5. We started on the powers of the mothers because it was important for me, what I was able to identify at the time, that what I needed was a divine feminine. Ashe. What I needed, come on and help me. What I needed was divine feminine energy. What I needed was an energy where I could see myself, and an energy that represented, that I knew that I had access to, right? And so we opened this book and we perceived to get our lives. Ashe, ashe. So ultimately, what you should know, because I can't go all the way back to share, to the beginning with you, because our time is limited on today, particularly as this is our last wrap up. But Dr. Love begins or shares with us the purpose the purpose of her writing her book was to really look at how African Americans were interpreting the Odu, which are the scriptures, sacred scriptures of the Yoruba religion of Ifa. And so in so doing, she freed us by sharing with us that it is not so much one about a written power of a scripture, for the Odu aren't written, but it is more about how the performative power, right? The performative power in what happens when we interpret these scriptures and we take them on, right? What happens as we search for deeper meaning in these scriptures that ultimately we find deeper meaning in ourselves. And she uses the Yoruba system to help us understand what that looks like. So by doing this ethnographic work, which means by going into the culture of which she is also an insider, and by observing the ritual practice, by observing the divination, by storing these interviews, hearing people share their stories, she has presented to us, Ashe. She has presented to us a very rich texture about how knowledge in this system is both generated, produced, if you will, and transmitted. Ashe, I'm going somewhere. I feel it already. Stay with me. And so in this process of knowledge production, Dr. Velma introduces us, remember, focusing on these African American engagements with the Odu, this storied environment. Hey, Akosawa. And these divination narratives. Let me just pause right here for those of you who are just joining, and let me help you unpack divination. Let me help you unpack the process, because let me slow down. I get so excited. Because many of us, because the process of colonization is to wipe our spiritual hard drive, our spiritual and cultural hard drive clean. The purpose of colonization is to strip one to the point where one is unrecognizable. And when one is recognizable and unrecognizable, then one has no thing to reach for and can only reach for that which the colonizer leaves present. And so as a result, over a period of time, what ancestors who were forcefully brought to the Caribbean and to these Americas did was they used the religion of the colonizer to mask, as a mask, as a shell, right? To be able to remain connected to the gods that they had brought with them across the transatlantic. What are you saying, Melva? That they brought something with them? Absolutely. That while those first folk who were here, and as generations continue to be born on this side, some have suggested that there is no way that they could have remained connected, while others say that not only did they remain connected, but because they were now melded and molded together, the varying tribes one to another, that as a result, they developed what can be identified as these African-derived religions or African heritage religions that take shape here in the New World, in the Caribbean and in the New World. So as they work in a way, this way of resisting this tradition or religion, or at least acknowledging a way to survive while appearing to fall in line, was masterful, Ashe. Somewhere along the line, Christianity no longer became a mask, and it also no longer became this mix of all of our traditions, the colonization joined with the capitalism, and us being socialized to see our traditions as evil, the voyeurism of white supremacy and Western culture, that would suggest that anything that they cannot interpret, anything that they cannot understand is problematic. So the hoodoo, if you will, our black folk traditions, our ability to conjure, to our ability to understand the life force of plants and soil, to make medicines, to make salves, our understanding, our ritualistic understanding to connect with the divine, all of that, if you will, somehow buried, only to come up in the under the cover of night, or under the cover or out of the common eye. Many of us can attest to elders, Ashe, if you will, who for whom we have been able to identify this peculiarity, right? And so what Dr. Love provides for us in this text, again, situated within Yoruba traditions here in the Americas, within African American culture and community, is how this particular power comes alive. This is Hoodoo Heritage Month. Oh my God. How this heritage comes alive in the power of the mothers. Dr. Love says, when I was in a difficult stage of writing, one of my mentors spoke a prophetic word to me, quote, "The Orisha want this work out in the world so it can help the people." And it has never been more true. It has never been more true. So you will remember, I have to walk us back just a teensy bit, that we started then on chapter 5, for those of you who had the book with the powers of the mothers. And we understood that the mothers, if you will, those who are seated, this Yoruba concept of the mothers, and how Dr. Love helped us to understand this concept in the African American contemporary culture, and how that she in this encounter found the mothers veiled, covered, and how they were shrouded in secrecy, but that these mothers wielded an unspeakable power. It was this power that I was in search of, this power that I just needed to connect with, this power that I'd known, if you will, all of my life, but had not been given a name, and had not found in my own, in the Christian tradition, even in the African-centered Christian tradition, if you will, something other than the power of Mary, or the Black Madonna, if you will, that allowed me to almost touch or identify this power that both has the ability to construct and deconstruct, to create and destroy in the seeking of balance. So we identified that this power given, held by the mothers, known as the Ajay, identified by Teresa Washington as this creative, furtive force, Ashe, this powerful force, that they maintain structure and they maintain balance, that this power is both spirit being, a spiritual power, and spiritual women. Woo, my goodness. It was there, y'all, that we got our life, as Dr. Velma Love shared with us the work of Letitia Tesh, and where she shared the power to serve the mothers. And you all will remember that when we read Letitia Tesh's question, when she asked, "Are we ready?" as Dr. Velma was reporting something that Letitia Tesh had witnessed, when she asked, "Are you ready to serve the mothers?" And you all will recall that in this question of being asked, "Are you ready to serve the mothers?" you all know what came up for us. Remember? You remember what it was? The mothers are calling us, but we're too busy listening to the fathers. You remember that? Ashe. And you will remember that even on page 84, as I move quickly to where we're going to end up today, you will remember that the question, when we ask, what does it mean to serve in the house of the mother, that we read through Dr. Velma's report of Tish, that we read that to serve in the house of the mother means what? It means one, to cultivate one's intuitive faculties, two, to embrace one's power, three, to define oneself. And that is reparative. That's the reparative work. Yes, Dr. Velma, let us engage in these rituals of return to repair, remember, and recover the divine feminine power. So to serve in the house of the mother is to engage in an act of repair, one, return and repair, reparation, Ashe. So not only, let me just aside for a moment, not only is it a desire to have an economic reparation, but can we understand and acknowledge that we also need a spiritual reparation? We also need a spiritual retrieval, a repair, a sankofa, to go back and to get what was ours, to demand that our faith leaders not no longer be scared of, right, what their colonizers, what the missionaries, what, listen, can we just say, what would it mean? Could you imagine what would it mean for, particularly when I think of the denomination, the Church of God in Christ, if they really understood the founder of their tradition, of the denomination, if they really got it, if they really leaned into who he was, that's another story. And so to serve in the house of the mothers, then we have all been considering what it means for us to lean into these faculties, right? To embrace our power and to define ourselves. As a result, we recognize that the need, the concern for some about this trend of this new world practitioners who were beginning to replace spiritual exploration with the memorized quotation. Remember, we talked about how Love cites Alomo, and where Alomo says that his concern has to do with what is and what is not an acceptable form of the transmission of knowledge, that we got free, that we got liberated, if you will, around this idea of the transmission of knowledge, that the Western idea, particularly in the academy, is that knowledge can only be transmitted, I say, if it has been written down, if there is this process of rote memorization. I'm helping myself, even as I think about like student evaluations who evaluate me and say, it seems like Dr. Sampson is not prepared because she doesn't have any notes. She's lecturing without notes. It seems like maybe she's not. So they mistake my interpretive style or the endowing of the mothers. They misunderstand me leaning into my intuitive faculties as being ill prepared, which is sort of this basis that if it is not written, then it is not so. Oh, but this text and the powers, I'm helping myself. This text and the powers of the mothers. Come on in here, somebody. Alomo expresses that is not necessarily where the power lies. That we have to decolonize, if you will. That the powers of the mothers help us decolonize knowledge transmission. Friends, can I help us on today? There is something then in spiritual exploration that cannot be found in the printed word. Friend, today, my goodness, something, it says, something in spiritual exploration that cannot be found in the printed word. She says the meaning comes from the spirit in the heart, producing a transformative energy throughout the spoken word. Listen. As I even blend this Black preaching tradition with these African heritage religions, it says to me is that it's all in this roux, making of this spiritual roux, if you will, this flavoring that I don't have to choose this or that, but all of it is in me. All of it is a part of me. And once you know that, once you stop struggling for that, once you stop trying to live in the dichotomy of this or that, once you understand to go back that this is necessary for our repair and for our remembrance is the very moment, Dana Purdom, that we get free. Woo, today. Is that helping you? Listen, it should be helping you, Kyle. I know you've not received any evaluations yet, but when you receive it, and when you receive them, particularly of those who say that your style is hard to follow, that they mistake your interpretive style as being all over the place or lacking structure because it is not connected to a printed word that they can read, yet it is connected to a spiritual download in your spirit. Woo, my goodness, today. Let me take a breath, y'all. That's right, because what happens? You see, thank you, Dr. Velma, for that. Because what does the Christian tradition say? And the word becomes flesh and dwells among us. Let us study the dwelling. Boom. Hey, Chelsea Green, so good to see you again. Because the word becomes flesh. And that's what the Christian tradition says, that the word becomes I gotta move on, y'all. I gotta move on. And so we continued on with the understanding that we needed to choose wellness, and that choosing wellness was indeed an act of political resistance, that calling for reparation was an act of political resistance. And then last week, we moved to chapter 6. Chapter 6, where we began to learn about Oshun, Yemenya, and Oya. Give me a moment to pull up something here. My goodness today. Woo-wee. This is so good, y'all. So to refresher, for those who are just joining in, we identified, and again, go back and get the book if you can. Absolutely necessary reading, because and write the words down that you are not familiar with, and then put them in the chat so that people can respond to you in the chat. I know that Dr. Monica Coleman is in here, who is also a part initiated into the Yoruba tradition, and is also an itinerant elder in the AME Church. I know Dr. Velma Love is in here. At some point, I think E.I. Renee King will be coming in here. And so there are folk in here, Ashe, who are able to engage and to respond, or at least to point you to sources, of which divining the self is one, because I don't have time to walk back that far, Ashe. So this chapter 6, where we begin the story, or to learn or introduce to Oshun, the deity Oshun, and Oshun being characterized as the personification of fertility, Ashe. The word Oshun, Dr. Love shares with us, the word Oshun means source. Now listen, walk it back just one sentence. So this feminine deity, her name means source. Oshun, who is the perpetually renewing source of life. So Oshun essentially means source of life. We learn then about Oshun, particularly in the story of the hidden power, Oshun, the 17th Odu, and the 17th Odu. And you will remember from last week in this story that there were Olodumare, who Olodumare is the Yoruba name for God, meaning the ultimate supreme being. You will recall that Oshun sent down 17 deities, 17 Orisha, to go to the earth. And when they got to the earth, He wanted them to go to the earth to make the earth inhabitable. And Oshun was the only female among them. And when they arrived, they went about the business. They went about the business of establishing their separate domains, okay, and deciding how they were going to complete their mission on earth. And in this story that Dr. Love is relating on page 90, these 17 Orisha went from place to place. They were seeking solutions because why? Because nothing they were doing was quite working out. Their crops weren't growing. The epidemic spread. The earth was barren. There was no healing in the land, and life had become nearly unbearable. But Oshun, source, stood by and watched as these 16 other Odu attempted to make earth inhabitable. The issue is that they had overlooked Oshun. They did not include the source in their attempt to make earth inhabitable. So unbeknownst that she was there all along, unbeknownst that she was just standing by, ready, waiting, watching, they go back then to Olodumare complaining and saying, something is not working. We don't know what's going on. There has to have been a terrible mistake that was made. And they tell Olodumare that there is a problem. And Olodumare then asks them a few simple questions. First, Olodumare, the ultimate supreme being, asked them, how many of you are here? And 16, they replied. And Olodumare says, but how many of you did I send? And they answered 17. And Olodumare says, there's your answer. Quote, unless you include Oshun, nothing will be successful. Unless you include the source, nothing will be successful. Unless you include the one characterized as the personification of fertility, nothing will be successful. Unless you include the one considered to be the river goddess, the owner of fresh water, the guardian of the ministry, the guardian of the mystery, the water through which nothing can exist without. Unless you include this sacred feminine, then nothing you do will be successful. Then they realized that there was a horrible mistake. They realized that there was a horrible mistake, and they attempted to correct their mistake. What was the issue? The issue was that Oshun's power was not visible to the male Orisha. Come on and get it. You should be getting it right now. Yeah. Oshun's power was not visible to the male Orisha, and that's kind of sort of what I was feeling. I was feeling 5 weeks ago. There is a way in which, there's a way in which, Reverend Kendra, thank you for tagging Iya Fini. There's a way in which, I just want to stay Ashe. When Oshun is overlooked, we get what we have today. Global crisis on every level. Listen, it is the overlooking of Oshun, the overlooking of the source. And many of us have experienced what it means to be overlooked, not just individually, but collectively. And we keep going to interpretations of a tradition, as it is not my intent to degrade a tradition. And so I'll say interpretations of a tradition, the way we've been socialized to read and receive traditions. We continue to look for ourselves in these traditions, or look for an acknowledgement of the sacred divine, and yet there is not one. And so we find ourselves wrestling, trying to fit in to systems and platforms, and to make sure that our names are called when people ask for who's your top 10, and go ahead and list all the phenomenal women preachers, and go ahead and list your top 5 on this. And we find in ourselves, some of us, that sort of, even though we know it's trash, right? We still find in us sort of this yearning, this wanting, and struggle with that type of overlooking. But Oshun, when she realized realized that she was being ignored or she was being overlooked. The way this story is read, anyway, she is not sitting in a position of wanting. Ha! That should free us right there. Woo! She is not sitting in a position of wanting. She is sitting in a position of waiting. Yeah. Let me just share that. She's not sitting in a position of wanting Mia. She's sitting in a position of waiting because she knows that she is the source. She knows that it will not work without her blessing. She knows that unless she blesses it, all of it will fail. Yes, Dr. Velma Love. And we even see these traces in our ancestral songs, even during enslavement, when they would sing, "Take me to the water." Ashe. We attribute that to their acceptance of Christianity. But I also acknowledge, because they knew that there was life in the water. There is a difference between wanting and waiting. That's a word for me. Woo! Let me just let that sit. Difference. Because she knew that it would not work without her. And so continue. I want you to go on and continue to read chapter 6 more carefully and more closely, so that you can get clear on this moment. It says that there's a story here then that Dr. Love shares with us as she recalls the practices of Yoruba priests and how it is imperative that even when people are presented to be initiated, that they first have to get the approval of Oshun. The fact that the goddess Oshun is consulted before every head is made indicates the importance of the feminine energy matrix. This again shows how, quote, the mothers regulate everything that comes into existence, even those who are initiated as priests and priestesses. Oshun, the goddess of fertility, is the principle then that gives life. Oshun lives in us. Yes, Dr. Velma, Oshun lives in us, so we embrace that Oshun energy. And I want to read this part now. Let me just straight read from the text here, because this is going to take us to the next two. And I'm already seeing I'm going to go over, because this is our last Sunday that we are going to finish this text collectively. And there's something that I absolutely need us to see parallel, so that we no longer feel bound or feel that we, no, let me shift my language, that we feel empowered, empowered to retrieve and to prepare. At the bottom of page 91, in considering what aspects of the self, the hidden power, mythic text addresses, I being Dr. Love, I consulted several practitioners who reminded me, I'm just so thankful you're on here, Dr. Love, thank you. I consulted several practitioners who reminded me to consider the Orisha iconographic symbols, iconography, so in Christianity, an iconic, and I struggle with this word, an icon or an iconographic symbol would be the cross. In ancient Kemetic tradition, it would be the Ankh. Okay, so Orisha iconographic symbols and what they represent. In one version of the story, listen to this. In one version of the story, Ogun relinquishes, who is another Orisha, male Orisha, Ogun relinquishes the tools used to cultivate the land. So like the hoe and the rake and the pick. Ochusi, another male Orisha, turns over the bow and arrow that he uses for the hunt. And Shango, who is my head, Ashe, relinquishes the double-edged axe. The act of turning these tools of self-development. So each Orisha has tools for development of the earth. Remember, development of self, but development of the collective. So here it is saying the turning of these tools, turning over these tools. They turned over these tools for self-development to Oshun. And it suggests to the source. Are you hearing me? They turned over these tools of self-development to Oshun. And this suggests, listen, here it is. This suggests that the mystical hidden power of the self, deeply seated in one's consciousness, one's Ori, ultimately governs one's life. That the implements owned by the male Orisha are important tools for clearing the inner landscape of barriers and obstacles or self-defeating tendencies so that the creative, fertile, productive, and life-sustaining energies might flow. That's called balance, Ashe. Let me also read this. Oyorinki Oyewimi reminds us that Yoruba language is not gender specific. Since a people's language reflects their patterns of social behavior, the absence of gender specificity reflects the intent to which sex differences in Yoruba land do not form the basis of social categories. In support of this point, Oyewimi notes that the words son, daughter, brother, and sister have no Yoruba equivalents, indicating that social roles are not based on such gendered kinship terms, but rather on seniority. Go back and read that. Cultural psychology, then. The cultural psychology undergirding, yes, Glency, you caught it, balance. The cultural psychology, she says on page 95, undergirding the popular Orisha Oshun and her symbolic representation of fertility, creation, birth, and source of new life is an Ajay power with a redemptive quality for an enslaved and oppressed people. These qualities are highlighted in those tales that we heard above, like the hidden powers, right? Oshun then embodies the Ajay that makes life sweet like honey. She represents desire as expressed in sexuality and sensuality. She represents the hope and agency that makes life bearable. Goes on and on. I need to move over to Yemenya. Yemenya then represents Yemenya, the Orisha Yemenya represents the Ajay of motherhood. So if Oshun, represents the Ajay power of fertility and of creation, then Yemanja represents the Ajay of motherhood. You follow me? Described, almost complete. Described as both the punishing mother and the nurturing mother, Yemenya represents aspects of life maintenance and day-to-day chores, like cleaning and cooking. Her colors, crystal, light blue, dark blue, silver, representing the depths of her soul. She is the soul sister, the queen of spirits, the spiritualist, the sixth sense. Who is Yemenya? She is the soul sister, the queen of the spirits, the spiritualist, and the sixth sense. She is the nurturing mother. The nurturing mother. She is the one that protects, the one that covers, the caring mothers. And then she makes every effort to provide her offspring with what would make them happy. Ashe. She protects even with a vengeance, Antonia. This is what I love, Dr. Velma. Here's what I love. Ashe. I love the fact that the folk who have had a reading, for whom it has been revealed who their heads are, how they are identifying and honoring, right? I saw Natasha said, my head is Oshun, and Antonia said, Yemen Yah, and I said, Obatala and Shango. Ashe, Ashe, yes. And Dr. Love also says so that the gods cannot grant what the Ori has not sanctioned. Ooh, I wish that I could have you, oh, I wish you could say more. But she can say more if you book your exploratory call with her. That the gods cannot grant what the Ori has not sanctioned. My goodness. Yemen Yah then is the queen mother. Ashe. And then we move to Oya. Oya, African American constructions of the Orisha Oya. Oya depict her as radical change. My daughter Phoenix is Oya. Oya leads her a radical change, and as Oshun represents birth, Oya then represents death, whether physical or metaphorical. Shay, that Oya is also a fighter, but she is compassionate and merciful, and once her mind is made up, she is very unyielding. She is the Orisha of change and transformation, going from one spirit into the other. Okay, so listen, let's just walk back to make sure that we're clear as we come to this close here. That Oshun is the Orisha of fertility, of creation. She is source. That Yemenya is the Orisha of motherhood, Ashe, of spirit, spiritualist, of divine sensibility. That Oya is represented as radical change and transformation. Okay, so you see this trinity of sort, that you have source, protection, and radical change. Source, creation, and radical change, represented in Oshun, Yemenya, and Oya, all three owners of Ajay. Ajay being that creative, fertile force that has the ability to tear down and to build up. Ajay being given the power given by the sacred mothers who are only second to Ifa itself, the sacred mothers, the divine feminine that comes through the Ajay that we see represented in these three Orisha that Dr. Love has reminded all three of them live in us. Woo! My goodness, today. So as I was considering, I'm just going to move to my close. As I was considering the powers of the mothers and the representation of this force, I came across, my dear sister Tiffany Omishigun Pennick's Facebook page. And on this page, I'm going to, let me see if I can, hold on. It's about to get wobbly for a second. Wait a minute, y'all. Okay. I'm going to turn my screen. You all see this image? Just look at the image. Take the image in. My goodness. Woo, take the image in. This is an image. This is an image of the three queens. The three queens who led the fire burn in St. Croix, or as their accent would say, the fire burn. The fire burn. On October 1st, 1878. The fire burn was a labor rebellion led by three women who stood for justice and called for the freedom of their people. My goodness. In St. Croix. They threatened to burn down the entire land, starting in the town of Frederiksted, if their demands were not met. Take this picture in, y'all. Take it in. Here you can find more information about the fire burn. I wanted you to see the three pictures, though, the three queens. Chattel slavery was practiced in the Danish West Indies from around 1650 until July 3rd, 1848, when colonial governor Peter von Scholten issued an emancipation proclamation. The Danish government, however, then enacted rules that kept people enslaved by contracts for another 2 years. Moreover, in 1847, a year before the governor's decree, the government instituted a gradual emancipation plan that freed the children born to enslaved laborers from that point would be free. It further stated that all slavery would cease entirely in 1859. I'm reading this from the blackpast.org. Blackpast.org. Natasha, can you put up here how people, Glency, her website is drvelmalove.com. Given the confusion and uncertainty around emancipation, sugar plantation owners made sure that the lives of former slaves changed little after emancipation. Many ex-slaves were hired at the plantations where they were previously enslaved and offered one-year working contracts that included a small hut, a plot of land, and a little money. Unlike during slavery, these free workers did not receive food or any care from their employers, prompting some of them to declare that the new conditions were worse than enslavement. My goodness. Each October 1st, come on, you see the connection that we're making. Each October 1st, contract day, workers were allowed to leave their plantations and enter into contracts with new plantation owners. On October 1st, Lolo, love you, sis. On October 1st, 1878, workers gathered on the island of St. Croix to protest wages and the harsh living conditions they were forced to live in. This gathering turned into a riot. Participants threw stones at Danish soldiers who soon barricaded themselves in the town fort on the island. The riots were said to be organized by and led by three women, Mary Thomas, Axline Elizabeth Salomon, and Matilda McBean. On October 4th, 1878, British, French, and American warships arrived at St. Croix to help stop the riots, but were turned away. The next day, the governor issued a declaration that all laborers should return to their plantations or be declared rebels. The uprising continued, but after 2 weeks, many workers had returned to their plantations and the revolt ended. Listen, though. In 2004, the Danes arrested approximately 400 people. 12 were sentenced to death and immediately executed. Another 39 were sentenced, but 34 had their sentences commuted to shorter terms. And among the last group were Mary Axline, Matilda, who were sent to the women's prison. And these three women were known as the Three Queens. The Three Queens. This is not just an important piece of Virgin Island history, according to Tiffany. It is important to our narrative as Black people of the diaspora. It is a part of the many narratives that we do not know and narratives we never hear because someone else is always telling the story. So today we call on the names of Queen Agnes, Queen Matilda, and Queen Mary, who were not afraid to risk their lives for this truth. Melva, what is the point? Dr. Velma said it. She said it clearly. What did she say? She said that Oshun lives in us. That Yemen Yah lives in us. That Oya also lives in us. She helped us to be clear about and to understand that this same witness is a part of us in our need to repair, our need to grow. That the ways in which these three Age powers, that the Age comes out in our understanding of the queens who led a revolt in 1878, led a revolt because they no longer desire to be held in captivity. Friends, what is it that I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is you don't have to be in fear of your history. You don't have to be in fear of what is your birthright to know. You don't have to be in fear of anything, even the word African derived or African heritage. It is the work of colonization that makes us believe that somehow, in order for us to stand in who we are, that we have to denounce our history, denounce our culture. Let me tell you something, that if we really want to get funky with it, I can actually think about Dr. Velma, Jesus as an Orisha, if you will, the miracle working, the ability to shift and to change and to speak, or how if not to see Jesus as an Orisha, to certainly see how Jesus carries these Orisha characteristics. Oh, friends, I hope that this has been helpful for you today. I hope that this has been life-changing for you today. I hope that what you know is that you have the ability to create. And just as you have the ability to create, you have the ability to destruct and to destroy, to tear down systems that are not life-giving, to remove yourself. It is within your power not to stand by wanting because nobody called your name, not to stand by wanting to be on the dais, wanting to be on the platform, wanting to be in the flyer, wanting to be in the number, wanting to be in the pulpit, not wanting but waiting because you know that you carry the source. You know that she too has endowed you, that in justice she has the ability to create, just as Ye Ming Ya, the spiritualist, has the ability to see and to divine and to know, and just as Oya comes to us with this radical transformation and changes the whole atmosphere, that those same powers are represented in you. There's no need for you to somehow feel like you've been cheating on Jesus. There's no need for you to somehow feel like that you have denounced your Christian practice, because the Christian practice you have is not the Christian heritage you were birthed with. Friends, let me tell you today that this is a reckoning. This is a call. This is a remembering. This is a way for us to live. One says, I came that I might have life and have it more abundantly. You have been emancipated on these past 5 weeks. And we thank God for the emancipator. We thank God for the ways that Oshun, we thank Olodumare for the ways that Oshun worked through Dr. Velma Love in presenting us this text. Embrace, she says, your personal medicine. In 2018, during the inaugural Katie Geneva Cannon Center for Womanist Leadership Conference, Alice Walker shared with the community there. She said, after reading Zora Neale Hurston's text, The Barracoon, Alice Walker said that it became clear to us that we that we were wounded as a people. And she said the prescription was that we needed to go into the wound to get the medicine. That we needed to go into the wound to get the medicine. So when Dr. Love tells us to embrace our medicine, that what we need is not outside of the wound, but it's in the wound. That what we have been desiring is not beyond ourselves, but it's inside of ourselves. And my hope on today and throughout these 5 weeks is that you realize that which you've been seeking most is right in front of you. That you would take a moment to even get up and go to a mirror and to just begin to take a little water, right? The Christians will call it baptizing yourself, right? Take a little water and just begin to sprinkle it over your head and begin to touch your head. Some would call it in this tradition blessing your ori, but begin to engage in the ritual of activating activating yourself so that you know without the shadow of a doubt that source, that the ability to create something out of nothing, that your prowess to make a way out of no way, activate that so that when you come up on the vicissitudes of life, that you are not standing wanting, but that you are only waiting for it to be made clear to you. Friends, today I am so thankful. I am so thankful for this work that we have done together. I am so thankful. Power in our blood, Ashe. Thank you to Dr. Velma Love. Words just aren't enough. We send you with blessings upon blessings. Our prayers are that the way continues to make, your path continues to be made clear. Ashe, that the new life that you experienced, having been breathed unto your words, would sustain you. Ashe, Ashe, that it would invigorate you. Ashe, Ashe, that you would be reminded that there is a body, that there are group, that there are folk who are ready, who are waiting, who are listening, who are adhering, who are reaching out to you for this work. Thank you for being a witness amongst us, an elder amongst us. Infinite blessings to you always, and to each of you who are on this. Thank you. I hope again, indeed, that this has filled your soul over these past 5 weeks. As we prepare to leave, I want to remind you the next sacred text that we will be engaging beginning on Sunday, this coming Sunday. Our next text that we will engage is the text of Dr. Shaniqua Walker Barnes, Too Heavy a Yoke. So if you've not already ordered that text, I want to invite you to go ahead and order it and get it. It is the next text for the rest of the year. Our sacred text will be coming from Black women, Ashe, for the rest of the year. And after that, we will be working through Dr. Monica Coleman's work. I have to talk with Dr. Monica. I'm pulled towards making a way out of no way, but yet I absolutely love bipolar faith. But for the purposes here, so I don't know. I just want to talk to her about which one she thinks might be a best fit for our community. But if you, the very next book for you to get though is Dr. Shaniqua Walker Barnes, Too Heavy a Yoke. Ashe. Thank you so much, Natasha, for posting that up here. You're so Ashe. And per usual, the things I secretly struggle with concerning my spirituality and what fills me, you allow Spirit to speak through you each time. Oh, thank you, Mia. Love you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. And as usual, I invite you all who desire, you can support this work in this way. You can share with me via Venmo at Melva-Sampson. You can also share with me via Robe Chronicles, PayPal. Really, really appreciative. You can also share with me via Zelle at mlsampson2013 at gmail.com. mlsampson2013 at gmail.com. Friends, until we meet again, God be with you until we meet again. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I look forward to being with you all next week as we really get into this Too Heavy a Yoke. Thank you again. Oh, okay. Thank you, Natasha. Dr. Walker Barnes has asked that we purchase her book through through a Black-owned vendor. Hey, Renee, catch the rewind. We mentioned your name. Catch the rewind. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you so much. Go forth now and be free. Ashe. And be free. Ashe. 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 Oh. Bye, y'all.